In this video, we're going to be talking about two back-to-back huge storm systems that's going to bring flooding rains, very high winds, heavy snow, and severe weather over the next 7 days. So if you're new to the channel, click the subscribe button and notification bell to get all my daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. We got a lot to cover this morning. It's going to be action-packed. This is October 21st. We've got this extratropical system that bottomed out overnight, 40 millibar drop. That was equivalent of what they call a bomb cyclone out here off the west coast here. You can almost see an eye trying to form as this is swinging up into British Columbia. And then you've got the tail end of it that's going to bring some very high winds towards the coast today. Some very high swells out here. They've got gale warnings out here off the coast, and some heavier rain that's going to be moving in off the Pacific Northwest. But yet we have another system that's actually trailing behind this one. You can actually see the deepening low pressure of a 952 millibar extratropical low pressure here. That's actually equivalent to a major hurricane. It's not tropical entity, it's extratropical. But man, it's got some powerful winds, and there's another deepening low pressure that's going to be developing back behind it. This is going to be a 1-2 punch. It's going to send severe weather across the central U.S. It's going to bring some heavier snow, and this is even going to bring an even heavier chance of heavier rains, heavier snow, and more severe weather as we get into the middle and end of next week. So there's a lot to talk about. Let's talk about the hazard watches today, because we've got fog advisories out here for the deep south into portions of Texas and Louisiana. We actually got some frost advisories in the midsection of the country, and then some freeze warnings as well. All the action is off the west coast with that system coming in. They've already got flood watches posted in Northern California. They haven't had much rain at all in several months. Now we've got flood watches we're talking about. This is a gale warning out here off the coast of some 16 to 20 foot swells. You get further out in the ocean, we're talking up to 30 feet swells. So that's why they've got those dangerous sea warnings out there today, with those crashing 15 to 20 foot waves. Are going to be offshore along the coast here, and they already have high wind watches posted for portions of Oregon and Northern California, extending into Nevada here. And that is just going to continue, because there's a 1-2 punch. There's this one on Thursday, and we have yet another even more powerful system that's going to come in Sunday into Monday. So let's get into this. Let's take a look at the radar later on this afternoon with that first wave of energy that's going to be coming across into the Pacific Northwest. Is going to bring some heavier rain into along the coastal regions of Washington and Oregon and Northern California, with those very high winds, especially along the coast here. We also have another band in the midsection of the country that's extended into portions of the Ohio Valley. That'll bring some marginal severe weather in this area right here as this continues to push off into the southeast. Nothing terribly too concerned about this, but some of these could be on the stronger side as you get into the later on in the afternoon. So let's take a look at the setup for the entire U.S. There's that mini cold front that's coming through. There's not much cold air with it. It's just more or less a boundary that's going to create some showers and thunderstorms out ahead of it. So that's why they've got some of those marginal severe risk into this area, this part of the country this morning into the afternoon hours. There's the setup off the west coast with that first initial cold front that's going to be moving in later on this afternoon. It's going to be bringing the first wave of energy, and it extends all the way down into Northern California, and then heavy snow is going to start breaking out into the interior regions, in the mountain regions, as it taps into that more precipitation. As we get into that Friday time frame, there's that cold front extending a little bit further inland. As it moves inland, it's going to be able to pull in some of that colder air aloft, and that's going to be some heavier snow, especially flying in the mountain regions, getting into Oregon and Washington and Idaho and parts of Montana here. there's that mini boundary layer here. We could have some stronger storms in portions of Oklahoma, Arkansas, into Missouri, with some light to moderate rain. Not too much happening in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You do have, say, a 10% chance of some maybe some marginal storms just well to the north, mainly along the Red River here, as that first that cold front mini boundary layer will be extended off the east coast. And as we get into that Saturday time frame, there's the setup. So this is that first initial mini boundary layer. We got that one system that's coming in, it's going to be pushing further inland. It's going to bring that heavier snow, continue to push it, and a lot of the same places that have seen it as of late in the mountain regions west of Denver, into Colorado, into Wyoming, into Idaho. As yet we have that other powerful system that's going to be coming, getting a little bit closer. This is that Saturday time frame. But I wanted to notice this area right here, this warm front. And as this pushes up and kind of fishtails backwards and pinwheels back, this is a powerful jet stream that's going to be coming across, bringing some very high winds, moving from west to east. We've got the higher winds going to be moving in a little bit higher levels. That's going to cause the split in the atmosphere and to create the severe weather threat that's going to be coming up on Sunday as we move into that Sunday time frame. And the Storm Prediction Center, even 4 days out, has highlighted that slight risk for severe weather into northeast Texas here, into portions of Oklahoma, getting into Arkansas as well as Missouri, getting into portions of Kansas, as that first initial wave is going to be tapping into some of that Gulf moisture. And with that split in the atmosphere again, that's going to be creating that severe weather threat. And it's already a slight risk. So it's going to be a little bit bigger as we get closer, possibly an enhanced risk. And that second storm could be even bigger than this first initial wave. So we got two back-to-back systems, kind of like what we did with about 10 days ago with that two back-to-back systems. And there's a lot of similarities, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. So let's take a look at that first wave. So this is that first wave of energy that's going to be coming across. It's bringing all the higher winds. This is the wind swath from now till Sunday time frame with that first initial wave. So you got that severe weather threat going to be breaking out over portions of Oklahoma and Kansas, getting into portions of Arkansas here. That'll be on Sunday. So not much happening between now and then, just some lighter moderate rain. But all the action is going to be off the west coast with that first initial wave, bringing some of those hurricane force wind gusts closer to the shore here. So some of these areas, especially along the coastal regions, could see some of those 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts with that first initial band, as that very heavy rain will continue to push it off. But you can see a lot of the whites here starting to show up a little bit further off. That's that second system getting a little bit closer, and that's going to bring some the higher winds even a little bit closer into the coastline as we get into the day, deeper into the day on Sunday, into that Monday time frame. Because here's that second system, and now this first system bottoms out at 952 millibar. This one looks to bottom out possibly at a 940. That's actually equivalent of a Category 4 hurricane out here off the west coast here. Luckily, this is not going to hit land, because this would do a lot of damage. This is going to remain offshore. It's going to be extra tropical, but it's going to be having some extremely high winds and some dangerous waves out here and very high swells, as this one also pushes in towards the British Columbia area. But it's going to be even a stronger system. It's going to be able to pull in a lot more deep moisture off here at the coast. And it's just going to be a training rain band of atmospheric river and moisture that's going to be days and days of rain off the west coast. If we take a look at the winds, I mean, you can almost see an eye with this one as well. The first one's the 952. This one's almost a 940, as it really gets its act together. Those deepening isobars really starting to tighten up, as it pushes those higher winds getting closer and closer to the coast as we get into that Sunday afternoon, especially into the evening time frame. There's what the radar could look like by the time we get into a Sunday afternoon with those deepening tight isobars. There's that 950 millibar low pressure. This is a massive system, folks, as those higher winds will be crashing the coast. Especially this one's going to tail further into northern California and bringing all those, they already have those flash flood watches already in effect with those higher rains going to be coming out that first system. There's just going to be expanded with the second system, especially in Northern California. Some of these places could pick up a foot of rain. Is not out of the question between now and just the next 5 days with this that second system. So as we move across and getting into the day on that Monday time frame, there's that first system still that brought all that's going to bring that severe weather in this part of the country. That's going to push up a little bit further into northern parts of Missouri, getting into Wisconsin here, into portions of Michigan, as that comma Q shaped, right? Fishtails on the backside. And then we have what will be Rick. It's not formed yet, but it's got a 90% chance of developing over the next 5 days, kind of like Pamela, right? So this is almost in the kind of the same position as we've got that powerful jet coming across. We had that first system, right? This is probably a little bit faster than what you saw with Pamela. But yeah, heavy snows are still breaking out into the higher elevations of California, getting into Idaho on Sunday with that second system bringing waves and waves of energy moving across. And then as we get to that Tuesday timeframe, there's Rick, tropical storm, possibly maybe a minimal hurricane by then, crashing the coast of Mexico. Doesn't this look familiar? As we have a powerful storm systems coming across from the west, bringing heavier snows west of Denver, higher winds on the south side, going to pull all that deep tropical moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And as this combines with the front, as we get into deeper into Tuesday, there's the vorticity index, right? So we got those deep isobars setting up over Arizona and to Mexico with some very high winds again. Setting up in this area could bring some stronger storms. There's the vorticity with Rick trying to move inland towards Texas as we got that first system, that first wave of energy pushing across the Ohio Valley again and pushing into parts of the Northeast. That'll be on the time frame on that Tuesday, October 26th. So as we get into that 27th time frame, that's when things start to get really interesting with that second wave of energy pushing across. There's Rick dying out of over the mountains of Mexico, kind of like what Pamela did. But this system's going to move a lot faster than what that system that brought with Pamela all the deep rainfall and heavier flooding threat over Texas. This is going to move a lot faster, but it's going to connect further into East Texas, into Louisiana, into Arkansas, into Missouri. It's still going to be able to tap into the moisture from Rick and that jet stream, that powerful jet stream that's going to come across. You still have the split from the south side, and that is going to create that severe weather threat extending as we get into that Wednesday time frame, probably into portions of Northeast Texas again, and getting into Oklahoma, getting into Kansas, getting into Arkansas, kind of where you're going to see it on Sunday, right? With this second powerful deepening system. But as we get into that Thursday time frame, of course, we're talking a week away, but man, this thing gets really cranking for the deep south, especially in the Dixie Alley area. We could be looking at a severe weather outbreak, even a tornado outbreak possibly in this area, with the dynamics of that surge of moisture from Rick surging in off the Pacific and from the Gulf. Deep tropical moisture. That powerful jet stream comes across from the west. That other jet stream at the higher levels moves across from the south, and we've got that split in the atmosphere, and that's going to create probably a severe weather outbreak for portions of the southeast going to the Dixie Alley. This is next Thursday, right? So this is a long time away, so you got plenty of time to prepare. As you can see, these two powerful systems are going to be going back to back, bringing flooding rains along the west coast, heavier rains in the interior regions, very high winds in its path, and then the severe weather threat really starts to get cranking in the central part of the U.S., and then it really ramps up as we get into the Dixie Alley area in the southeast as we get into that Thursday time frame of next week. We're talking October 28th, guys, so but definitely be on the lookout for this. I'll be obviously fine-tuning this as we get deeper, closer to the event. This will continue to move across. This is a very powerful system that's setting up over the Ohio Valley, getting into portions of Tennessee, getting into the Carolinas, getting off into Georgia area. Probably going to be looking at some severe weather by then. There's the setup on the latest GFS model, as that will continue moving across into the east, into Georgia, into South Carolina, into North Carolina, getting into portions of Virginia. By then, this would be the day, we're talking next Friday. This is October 29th. But there's the wind swath over the next 7 to 10 days. I mean, we got that powerful system, 1-2 punch, some very high winds. Next week is going to be another week, one of those weeks that's going to be difficult to travel by plane, difficult to travel by car and by truck driver. There's gonna be a lot of instability in the atmosphere, a lot of very high winds with severe weather, some very high winds cranking across. So definitely be on the lookout for some extremely high winds of 50, 60, upwards to 70, if not 80 miles per hour, as this will continue moving across from west to east. And then all this could potentially end into a nor'easter as we get towards that Halloween time frame. So man, there's a lot of weather to talk about, because look at the rain just over the next 7 to 10 days. There's those two systems coming off the west coast. These are flooding rains for Washington and Oregon, especially for Northern California. I mean, look at the chart. Some double-digit territory is not out of the question. This is mainly a West Coast event, Northern California event, maybe parts of Central California. Not much happening for portions of the Southern California region, especially as you get further south. There's the remnants of Rick, what could be Rick. So notice the precipitation in Texas, not terribly too much from this system, because a lot of the energy is going to be feeding into the system once it gets behind it. But once it taps into the southeast and getting in towards the Ohio Valley, and then once, especially as we get into next weekend, with that potential nor'easter, we could be looking at another flooding threat potentially by the time we get in the next weekend time frame for the Northeast, with some of these double-digit totals popping up into those areas of New York and Pennsylvania area, with that another powerful system that will come across by then. There's your heavier snow that's going to fly in the higher elevations of the mountains regions. Some of these, again, double-digit, very heavy snow, more the peak extended tops of some of the higher elevations and some of the peak mountain regions could pick up 5 feet of snow from the system, with a lot of precipitation over the next 7 to 10 days. And where it's cold enough, it's all going to be snow in the higher elevations. And so I know it's a lot to cover, guys. I would definitely keep you ahead of the storm with this particular system. As you can see, we got 2 powerful systems going to be coming across over the next 7 to 10 days. So I will detail this out as we move forward. So I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to like this video. Definitely hit the subscribe button. See me in the next video where I protect you before and after the storm.